I got this in my inbox one evening back in April. No subject line. No name. Just a short, one-sentence message at the top. If you've ever driven I-70 near Stull, Kansas, don't. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a story dumped into the void. Below, that was a long block of text. I read it twice that night. I haven't deleted it. I couldn't. It stuck with me. And after what they described, I don't think it was just a story. The person said they used to be an overnight trucker. Independent contracts, mostly Midwest freight, Denver to Kansas City back to Cheyenne. Long straight shots, simple hours, less traffic. You pass through Salina, you coast by Lawrence, and eventually you hit the long, open stretch near exit 228, somewhere outside Stull. They'd driven Interstate 70 dozens of times. Nothing unusual about it. That's where it happened. This was in October of 2021. Not a lot to see, just a lonely off-ramp and a mint green sign. But about 10 minutes later, they passed it again. Same feeling in their gut, like they'd driven in a circle, even though they hadn't touched the wheel. They left Denver just before 10 at night with a reefer full of produced lettuce, carrots, apples. The kind of load that doesn't care about potholes. About 5 hours into the drive, right around 2:40 in the morning, they passed exit 228. Exit 228. No other headlights. But there it was, exit 228 again. Exactly the same. Same sign. Same paint tag on the back. Same tilted pole. It was warm to the touch, like a person had been leaning against it, or holding it. Mold-stained, like it had been sitting in a flooded basement. They slowed down, turned down the radio. The GPS showed they were miles ahead of where they'd just been. They pulled over, stepped outside. No wind, no crickets. Just their rig rumbling on the shoulder and an almost unnatural quiet. The kind of quiet where you notice your own breathing too much. They walked up to the exit sign. Not like sun-warmed. Not metallic. It was body-warm. They looked around and saw nothing, just dry fields, a line of fence, and endless black. No hesitation. They got back into the truck, and that's when they noticed the door was open. They thought it was CB chatter bleeding through, but it didn't sound like English. The passenger side door. They were certain it had been shut. Inside on the seat was a small, damp paper booklet, old, yellowed at the edges. On the cover, one word. Return. They picked it up. The pages were filled with 6-digit strings, all handwritten, some circled, some crossed out. Not skidding, just a slow, wet circle. A looping crunch that never stopped. No names, no notes, just rows and rows of numbers. They kept flipping through it, hoping to find a clue. And that's when they heard something outside. It sounded like tires spinning in gravel. They turned off the interior lights and leaned out the window. There was nothing, but the sound kept going, slowly getting closer. They threw the truck into gear and pulled back onto the road. Something worse, but the weirdness didn't stop. Every few miles, the radio would crackle. No music, just faint whispering, low and warped. Sometimes it didn't sound human. Then came the lights, a flicker of high beams in the rear view. Far back, then closer. Their stomach had dropped somewhere back at exit 228. Then gone. Parked diagonally across the road. No headlights. Emergency flashers blinking like dying fireflies. He pointed at one of the numbers and said, "That's my birthday. Right there." That exact number. They tapped the brakes. Looked back. Nothing. Then, out of nowhere, another vehicle appeared ahead. They swerved around it. Honked. No movement. Just an open driver's door and a dark smear on the pavements to it, like someone had spilled oil, or... That's when they noticed a shape in the ditch. A figure standing upright. Pale, barefoot, motionless. Wearing a white dress. It didn't move. Rough night? It didn't react. It just watched them pass. They didn't stop. They couldn't. Their hands were locked to the wheel. They made it to the next town, Gypsum, Kansas, a dot on the map that barely had a gas station. Pulled in around 4:30 in the morning. The clerk took one look at the driver's face and said the driver didn't even answer. They just handed the booklet to the clerk and asked, "Ever seen this before?" The guy flipped through a few pages, then stopped. They didn't respond. They grabbed a coffee, sat in the cab, and watched the sun rise in silence. They never finished the route. They called dispatch and said the trailer was abandoned at a rest stop off UC 50. They turned in their keys, sold their rig within a week. They haven't driven overnight since. The email ended with a line that still makes my skin crawl. I don't know if I ever left that loop, or if I'm just remembering the version of me that did. So next time you're out on Interstate 70, east of Denver, west of Topeka, and you see that bent green sign at exit 228, maybe don't stop. And if there's something waiting on your passenger seat, don't read it. Whatever's keeping track out there, it already knows your number.